Welcome to the world behind midnight. Tonight, we uncover something that should have stayed buried. If you're hearing this, it's already too late. I was born in the quiet stretch of Montana where fences meet forests and silence has weight. My name's Eli Harper, and this story destroyed everything I once called home. My family ran cattle on land older than memory. Our pastures rolled toward the tree line like a sea of gold brushing against a wall of black. From childhood, I was taught respect for that line, not curiosity, not courage, respect. Because beyond that fence, the woods didn't belong to us. My mother had one rule. It wasn't a suggestion, it was scripture. Never cross the fence, Eli. Not for anyone. Not ever. She wasn't a superstitious woman. She was solid, practical, the type who faced storms head-on. But mention those woods, and her voice would falter. She'd say, "Things live in there that don't belong to God." And the way her eyes changed told me it wasn't a metaphor. Our dogs refused the woods. Even the brave ones that would chase off coyotes. They'd freeze 50 yards from the tree line, tails tucked, ears back, whining like they'd seen ghosts. At night, the forest didn't hum with crickets. It breathed the long, slow pulse of something that felt awake and listening. My father used to say the forest wasn't evil, just ancient. "It remembers," he'd mutter. I never asked what it remembered. I grew up obeying the rule. Through childhood, teenage rebellion, and the restless years after Dad's death, I never crossed the fence until the day I heard the voice. It was late autumn. The sky burned orange and violet. I was mending a fence post at the far edge of the property when I heard crying. A child's cry. Thin, sharp, real. Not the whine of a coyote or the mimic of a bird. A human sound. A plea. "Help me," it said. Faint, trembling. A little girl's voice, no older than 8. The sound crawled through the trees and found me. Every instinct in me froze. I stared at the woods, at that unmoving line of pine and shadow. The sound came again, weaker. "Please." For a long moment, I couldn't move. My mother's voice thundered in my head, "Never cross the fence." But the cries shredded logic. I shouted back, "Where are you?" The crying stopped. For 5 seconds, silence. Then another sob, closer, desperate. The dogs near the barn started whining, pacing, tails low. One bolted under the porch. The other growled toward the forest and backed away. Logic tried to fight my heartbeat. Maybe a lost tourist's child. A family hiking off trail. A kid hurt and freezing. The sun was sinking fast. If she was real, she wouldn't survive the night. The temperature would drop below freezing, and the woods would swallow her whole. I told myself I'd only step in a few meters. Just enough to help, to listen, to make sure she wasn't dying out there. I dropped my tools, ran to the shed, and grabbed my father's heavy flashlight, the one that could cut through fog like a blade. The dogs barked when I crossed the field. They didn't sound brave. They sounded like they were trying to stop me. When my boots reached the fence, I hesitated. The wood was old, the wire rusted, the kind of barrier that felt symbolic more than practical. The forest waited, still, watching. I swung my leg over. The instant my foot touched the soil on the other side, the world changed. The air thickened cold, wet, metallic. The smell hit next. Blood, soil, and rot laced with something wild, almost sweet. The open world behind me went silent. No cattle, no wind, just pressure, like a door ceiling shut between me and everything sane. I called again, "Hello, I'm here to help." My voice sounded small, swallowed by the dark. No answer, no birds, no rustling, just the thick breath of the forest itself. I turned on the flashlight. Its beam sliced forward and was swallowed whole. The trees stood too close, their trunks swollen, bark blackened with decay. Each step sank into the spongy floor, a mat of dead pine and wet moss that made soft sucking noises as I walked. The child's voice had stopped completely. Only my breathing filled the space. Still, I kept walking. 10 meters, 20. My stomach twisted tighter with every step. Then, faintly, something brushed against the beam. Movement low, fast, gone in an instant. "Hey," I called. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The words echoed weirdly, too long, like the forest was mocking me. I felt watched. The cliché of horror. Sure, but it's real. It's the weight behind you, the prickling between your shoulder blades that says run. I froze. My pulse thundered. Nothing, just trees. But somewhere deeper, something exhaled. A sound too low to be wind. A growl rolled through the air like thunder dragged under water. That's when I saw it on the ground. A small boot, half buried in mud. Pink, with cartoon stickers peeling off. I crouched, brushed the leaves aside, and my flashlight found the marks around it, deep grooves, gouged into the earth. 5 lines, too thin for a bear, too long for a cat, too deliberate for anything natural. Next to them, a print, huge, like a wolf's butt off. The heel human, the toes splayed wrong. The smell of blood grew stronger, old, metallic, everywhere, like the forest itself was bleeding. My hand trembled. The flashlight beam quivered across the trees. Shadows seemed to bend around it. Behind me, something cracked. A branch, heavy and deliberate, breaking under weight. I spun, light jerking through the dark. Nothing, just the endless maze of trees. But I wasn't alone. The air itself vibrated with presence. Something massive exhaled. The sound was wet, slow, intelligent. My instincts screamed leave, run, forget the voice. But curiosity has teeth too. I whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. Then, from ahead, that same cry again, faint, trembling. "Help me." Except this time, the voice came from higher up, like it was in the trees. My pulse turned to ice. I backed away, beam shaking. "Where are you?" Branches rustled overhead, moving against the windless sky. Something was pacing above me. I pointed the light upward and the beam caught a glint. Eyes, 2 faint yellow dots, reflecting light like a predator's. They blinked once, then vanished. A sound followed, the soft scrape of claws sliding down bark. I turned and ran. Branches tore at my jacket. My boots slipped in the mud. Every breath burned. Behind me, movement, heavy, swift, matching my pace. The growl came again, closer now, not from an animal's throat, but something mimicking it. Something that knew how fear sounded. I broke through the brush, spotted the fence ahead, and sprinted. The flashlight flickered, died. I dove for the boundary, grabbing the wire and hauling myself over. Behind me, something stopped, just at the edge, watching. In the dying light, I saw it, a silhouette between trees, tall, wrong, still, 2 yellow eyes. Then, I hit the ground on my side, breath ragged, staring at the forest that suddenly looked normal again. But I knew better, because the crying started again. And this time, it was coming from my porch. The crying on my porch stopped me cold. The same voice, the same trembling plea, only closer, clearer, impossible. I turned off the flashlight instinctively, crouching low, breath shaking in clouds of frost. The house loomed 50 yards away, lights off, windows dark, just the windless quiet and that small voice whispering, "Please, it hurts." Every rational thought begged me to run the other way. But the voice sounded human, so heartbreakingly human, it anchored my feet in place. I moved slowly toward the porch. Each step felt like walking through syrup, soundless and heavy. When I reached the steps, the boards creaked under my boots. The crying stopped mid-note. Silence snapped tight. "Hello?" My whisper barely left my lips. "Are you hurt?" No reply, only a smelly stench that didn't belong to this world. Rot and rust, wet fur and iron. The door was ajar, just a hairline gap, wide enough to breathe through. I hadn't left it that way. I pushed it open with the flashlight's barrel. The hinges moaned like something dying. Inside, the kitchen was dark, except for moonlight cutting through the window. Everything looked untouched, still. Then I noticed the muddy prints on the floor, small, barefoot, leading from the threshold toward the hallway. I followed them, my pulse thudding in my ears. The footprints stopped halfway. The floor beyond was clean. "Mom," I whispered. No answer. Just the old clock ticking slow, uneven, like a heartbeat underwater. A thump echoed from upstairs. One single step, heavy, deliberate. I aimed the flashlight toward the ceiling. Dust drifted down like ash. Another step, closer to the stairs. "Who's up there?" My voice cracked. The silence that followed felt alive. Then a sound that didn't belong in any human throat, a growl, rising through timber, vibrating through the air vents. It wasn't loud. It was low, wet, patient. I stumbled backward, flashlight shaking. The beam caught something on the wall, a photograph of my parents on their wedding day. The glass over their faces was cracked. Fresh mom. I tried again, louder. My chest burned. Nothing. Then, faintly, from outside footsteps in the gravel. I turned toward the door, hoping for reason, for my mother, for anything human. A shape moved past the porch window. Tall, wrong. The silhouette paused, then pressed closer. I froze. The beam from my light caught a flash of yellow reflection eyes, too high off the ground to belong to anything human. The creature didn't move. It just watched. For a full minute, we stood like that, me gripping the flashlight, it staring through the glass. Then, with slow deliberation, it leaned sideways until its snout met the window pane. The glass fogged from its breath, and then it smiled. I bolted. Through the kitchen, across the hall, up the stairs two at a time. The flashlight beam bounced wildly against the walls. I locked myself in my old bedroom and shoved the dresser against the door. My hands shook so hard I dropped the key twice. Below me, wood creaked. Something was moving through the house slowly, testing each step like it owned them. My phone was on the nightstand. No signal. The scratching started next. Long measured strokes against the door. Not claws trying to break through, fingers tracing shapes. I pressed my ear to the wood, heart slamming against it. A whisper slipped through the crack, impossibly soft. "Eli," my mother's voice. For a moment, my brain broke. It sounded so real, so close, trembling the way it did when she'd read bedtime stories. Then logic stabbed through. My mother wasn't home. She was in town with friends. She couldn't be here. But the whisper came again, weaker, pleading. "Eli, honey, open the door, please. It's cold." My throat closed. "Mom." "Yes, sweetheart." A pause, then the faintest chuckle. "You scared me half to death." Tears burned my eyes. I wanted to believe. God, I wanted to. But the smell seeped through the crack, wet fur and iron. And behind her tone, something stretched, imitated, almost right, but not quite. I backed away, shaking my head. "You're not her." The whisper turned rough, guttural. "Open it." The last word dropped into a growl that rattled the door. Then silence. For 30 seconds, nothing moved. Then soft thuds across the floorboards, retreating down the hall. I stayed frozen until I heard the front door open. Wood scraped, then closed again. I sank to the floor, shaking, gripping the flashlight like a lifeline. Through the quiet, memory bled in my father's old ritual. Every dusk, he'd walk the fence with his rifle, tracing the boundary before night fell. When I was small, I asked what he was guarding against. He'd smiled, tired and sad. "Not guarding, son. Reminding what? That we're visitors here. And visitors need permission." I didn't sleep. I sat by the window until dawn, eyes fixed on the tree line. When morning came, the world looked normal again. Birds sang. Sunlight spilled over the grass. But the prints were still there, bare feet in mud, leading from the forest to my porch and back again. The fence line had a gap now. A post torn clean out. Wire snapped like string. Whatever lived in those woods had crossed into mine, and it had learned my name, By nightfall, the world felt wrong again. The air pressed heavy, as if the sky itself was holding its breath over my house. Mom's car lights appeared down the road, cutting through dusk. Relief hit me so hard, my knees almost gave out. She stepped from the car smiling, calling my name, until she saw my face. The smile died instantly. What happened? Her voice sharpened, scanning the torn fence, the muddy prints, my shaking hands. I told her everything, the cry, the forest, the eyes, the voice at the door. Her face drained of color with every word. When I finished, she whispered only one sentence. "You crossed the fence." I nodded, ashamed. She closed her eyes, exhaled once, then said, "He knows now." "Who?" But she didn't answer. She ran to the barn instead. Inside, she pulled an old wooden chest from under hay and unlocked it with a key from her neck. The hinges screamed open. Inside lay 2 guns, salt cartridges, iron nails, and a faded Bible bound in leather. I stared, speechless. She spoke quickly, each word trembling but precise. "He comes when the boundary's broken. Always for the one who crossed." She loaded shells with practiced hands, muttering verses I didn't recognize. "Your grandfather fought him once. Your father kept him out. Now, it's our turn." "Mom, what is it?" She paused, looking toward the window. "Something that remembers us." The first knock came then soft, deliberate, like a polite visitor. The clock read 9:17 p.m. Mom grabbed the shotgun and motioned me down. The second knock shook the doorframe. "Eli," a voice called. My father's voice. The blood drained from my face. Mom's hands trembled on the gun. "It's him," I whispered. She shook her head violently. "No, it learned." The voice came again, gentle, pleading. "Son, open up. It's cold." I backed away, heart slamming. "Dad's dead," I breathed. Mom's whisper barely moved the air. "He keeps what he kills, their voices, their warmth. He'll try them all before dawn." Then came scratching across the sidings, low, deep, metallic. The thing circled the house. Boards creaked, footsteps above. The roof groaned under weight no man could carry. We moved to the hallway, the farthest point from windows. The smell hit first wet fur and old iron. Dust rained from the ceiling. Something dragged itself across the roof, snuffling like a dog searching for scent. Mom whispered, "He's testing." The word tasted like ash. Then claws punctured the ceiling. Plaster rained down in soft clouds. A single arm broke through, long, black-furred, ending in human-like fingers tipped with curved claws. Mom fired once. The blast deafened me. The arm recoiled upward with a screech that wasn't fully animal. Blood dark, thick, almost tar dripped onto the floorboards. For one heartbeat, silence. Then the roof exploded with movement. Tiles shattered, rafters split. He tore the ceiling open like paper. The creature crouched above us, enormous, 8 feet of muscle and nightmare framed in moonlight. Its head was lupin, muzzle dripping, eyes burning amber. But its shoulders and arms were wrong, human, hateful, powerful. It looked directly at me, and smiled. Mom raised the shotgun again. "Run," she screamed. I hesitated. She shoved me hard toward the stairs. "Basement, now." The creature lunged. I dove down the steps as claws raked the wall behind me. The door slammed. Mom's final shout pierced the chaos. "Don't come back up." Then the crash above, her scream, and silence. I barred the basement door, chest heaving, vision swimming. Something massive slammed against the wood, once, twice, then stopped. Silence again, then her voice. "Eli, honey, it's over. You can open the door now." I pressed my back to the cold stone wall, shaking my head, whispering, "No, Mom, you told me not to." She knocked softly, almost tender. Please, he's gone. The smell seeped under the door at an iron, and in that moment I knew. Whatever waited outside wasn't my mother anymore. The basement air was colder than I remembered, damp with earth and metal. The single bulb above me flickered, swinging like a heartbeat made of light. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing, only the tick of dust settling and my pulse pounding behind my eyes. Somewhere upstairs, floorboards sighed one slow step at a time. The creature was moving again, deliberate, patient, exploring the house that was once ours. I found my father's old lantern on a shelf, its glass smeared with age. When it flared alive, the shadows stretched too far, as if listening. Dust motes turned in the beam like ghosts. I thought of Mom, of her voice, of the way she'd said he remembers us. A faint sound came through the vent above me, breathing, steady, heavy, like a bellows made of flesh. It whispered my name, again quiet, almost loving. Eli. The syllables scraped like claws on stone. I clamped my hands over my ears, shaking, whispering, "You're not real." But the whisper changed. It became two voices, overlapping my mother's and my own. "Come see." The vent rattled once, then silence. I killed the lantern. Darkness folded over me. For a moment I could almost believe I was safe, because I couldn't see him. Then something moved below, not above below. A soft scrape against the concrete floor. I swung the light back on. The far corner was empty, just old tools and sacks of feed. But one sack was breathing. My throat tightened. I stepped closer, each move a betrayal of sense. The sack shivered once, then went still. "Please." A voice from inside, muffled, weak. "Help me, Eli." It was Mom's voice again, quieter, desperate, perfect. Every part of me wanted to open it, to believe she'd somehow crawled down here. Then I saw the floor around it, gleaming, but no scent of blood. Just soil, thick and black, pulsing as if alive. The bag twitched. A hand slipped out, pale, trembling, too long at the joints. I stumbled back, heart hammering, shouting, "Stop!" The thing inside froze, listening. Then it began to rise. I ran to the old storm hatch leading outside, pulling at the rusted latches. They refused to move. Something heavy pressed against them from above. The whisper came through the metal. "Don't leave me, son." This time the tone carried laughter hidden inside it. The light bulb burst. Darkness flooded in, complete, alive, thick with the smell of fur and rain. I dropped to the floor, groping for the lantern again, shaking. When the flame caught, I saw it prints in the dust leading toward me. Bare human feet changing shape mid-step, elongating, narrowing into claws. I backed into the corner, clutching the lantern like it could burn away nightmares. The prints stopped a few feet from me. Then, quietly, from the darkness, you took her voice from me. "Now I'll take yours." The air folded inward. A pressure wave rolled through the room, humming against my teeth. I screamed, but no sound came. The world flickered white, then black again, and everything went silent. I woke to silence, so complete it rang in my skull. The lantern was out. Only moonlight seeped through the cracks in the storm door. For a moment I thought I'd gone deaf. Then I heard it, a heartbeat that wasn't mine, steady and slow, coming from the floor itself. My voice wouldn't work. My throat moved, but no sound came, just air scraping like broken glass. I crawled toward the stairs, hands shaking. Each step felt like moving through water, too thick to breathe. At the top, the basement door hung open. A faint glow pulsed beyond it, orange and flickering, like firelight. The house was quiet, but not empty. Furniture shifted in small, thoughtful movements, as if something unseen was adjusting the world to its liking. My mother's Bible lay open on the table, pages fluttering though there was no wind. The salt shells were gone. Stepped forward, whispering through the ruined voice in my throat, "Mom." No answer, but a figure stood near the window, framed in moonlight, hair loose, posture familiar. "Eli," she said softly. Her face turned toward me and I saw the eyes, amber, glowing, gentle, and ancient. She smiled the way she used to when I was small. "Don't be afraid. It's better this way." The house groaned. The walls pulsed once, then stilled. Outside, the forest swayed as though it were breathing in rhythm with her. I wanted to run, to fight, to scream, but the sound still wouldn't come. She reached out a hand. Her fingers were warm, real. "Come home, son. The fence doesn't matter now." I pulled back. Her smile cracked, and something older looked through it. The same thing that had smiled from the trees. I turned and ran, through the kitchen, down the hall, out the door that no longer needed hinges. The night met me with open arms. Wind whipped across the fields, and the forest waited, vast and endless, behind me. Her voice followed two tones overlapping, mother and beast. "You can't leave where you belong." The ground underfoot felt wrong, soft and breathing. The fence lay torn open wider than before. The forest whispered my name, hundreds of voices folding into one. "Eli." Something inside me answered, not with words, but with a growl rising from my chest. Low, trembling, ancient. The sound filled the air, matched by another from deep in the trees. A chorus of memory and hunger. I understood then. No one crosses the fence and stays human forever. The moon slid from behind a cloud, silvering the field, showing two sets of footprints, mine and something larger, walking side by side into the woods. The forest breathed in, I breathed out, and the world went quiet. If you still hear the howls after this, keep the light on, and subscribe before it reaches your door.